So, I want to talk today about why the work smarter, not harder mindset is actually not in our best interest. Um, Here's a caveat. I know this advice has been given to so many leaders over the last, I don't know, couple of decades. I have used it myself, and I will probably continue to say this phrase some, but I actually want to make a case that it's making things worse instead of better. So here's where the current data fall for us. 66% of US employees said that they were burned out in 2025. And burnout is overcommitting, overdoing, being overwhelmed, having too much on our plates, and not being able to manage everything well, and all of the side effects that come from that, right? This was reported at an all-time high. Now, specifically in leadership, if we look at our leader teams, right, they are the people that are managing the staff underneath them, keeping the ship going, making sure that everything is working well. 56% of them reported being burned out. It was 52% the year prior and is 56% now. So, this is something that's affecting our leadership. And if it's affecting our leaders, that's just going to trickle down into the teams and our entire system as a whole. Let's be honest. If we go above and look at the C suite executives, 69% of them in the last year have actually seriously considered quitting their role, whatever they're doing at that current moment, to find a job that better matches how they want their life to look and what they want their well-being to look like, something that's going to support them as a whole human and not just as a productivity robot machine, right? Those are some pretty appalling numbers. And I think that when we think about how we approach getting the job done. We do want to be smarter about how we're doing it, but we've been telling leaders to do this for 2 decades. Burnup went up, not down. So either leaders are really bad at taking advice, or it's just incomplete advice. It sounds nice, it sounds good, but is it really effective and working for us? Obviously not. There's a missing piece to the puzzle that we need to discuss for our leadership. Last year, Deloitte's Workforce Intelligence Report found, and I'm going to read this quote here to make sure I don't mess it up, found that mental fatigue, cognitive strain, and decision friction are now the leading indicators of burnout. It surpassed workload volume for the first time in a long time. Most people just felt like it was too much. And now we are mentally just exhausted. Our brains are working in overdrive and it's causing a strain on our ability to make decisions and function really well. Those are all going to be things that lead to our leadership falling to the wayside and not being able to perform well and take care of themselves, much less their teams, right? So it's not so much anymore that now we're doing too many things. It's that the things that we're being asked to do are causing a sense of overwhelm on us. In fact, if we look at some research on multitasking, I think a lot of us are aware in this day and age that multitasking is not the most effective way to be productive. But if we tease that apart a little bit and we look at code switching, so code switching is maybe let's just use like household chores for an example here. If I am trying to load the dishwasher, cook the dinner, and clean the countertops all at the same time, it's not even in the same bucket. My brain is having to think about how I need to heat the pan and put some oil in there while also strategize how the cups all need to fit, while also making sure I'm using the safe cleaner on the countertop so my baby doesn't, touch Clorox, right? It's if it were multitasking things that were all just on executing that meal, that would be one thing. We can do that a little bit better. If we're code switching, if we're switching from this kind of task to this kind of task, it takes us an average of 20 minutes to be able to get back into the flow of the other thing we were doing when we switch back to it. It's just not working. Our fingertips are on everything. We have access to information and people and resource, but it's too much. It's too much for us to be able to actually do quality work and be productive, right? Um, the hard part about this conversation is that our top leaders are the ones that are usually the last to be identified as suffering from burnout. They're really good at this. We're really good. We can do all the things. We can. And because we can, we think we should. And then when we do, everyone else also thinks we should too. Right. And so it's the leaders kind of get hidden in this equation of that the impact of burnout. We see it pop up. We see it manifest in our teams when people are grumpy, or maybe their boss didn't respond in a quick enough time, or maybe they were short with them, or maybe something fell through the cracks. But identifying that this is actually a burden on their plate is something that we just don't see very often. We look at um, their effectiveness based on their output and the successes that they create. And the great thing is they do. They absolutely do. And unfortunately, that gets tied to their identity, right? Now I feel like I have to perform because that's who I am. And where that leader is experiencing burnout and holding it all down and making it look pretty for everyone below them and above them in the workplace, we just start to believe that that's who they are and what they can do at all times. And we miss a lot of those things. I remember when I was training a leader in my former position before I opened my business, and I got a message from her that she was staying up until 2 a.m. to do her work, and she had missed her kids' soccer games for that entire season. And I had no idea. I had no idea that she was suffering from all of this because everything looked great on the outside. And that's kind of the problem, right? If we think about our car, you might be the best driver in the world, but you're not checking the oil light or changing the tires or paying attention to the check engine light. You can be as skilled of a driver as possible and get all kinds of trainings and supports on driving, but if you're not taking care of the machine as a whole, and that is all levels in your organization, but especially your leaders, the machine's going to break down. You're going to find it on the side of the road, and you will say things like, I never saw it coming, just like I did, right? That's what's happening to our leaders in the organizations right now. They have a high drive without a system that supports them, without methods to develop resilience, and it's not sustainable. They can't perform at this rate all the time. Um, so if we look at the research, the things that we need to actually address are not even necessarily workplace volume. That's part of the conversation, but it's that we're operating under this old model where we are creating cognitive overload from that context switching and that code switching, while allowing that to become their identity. And it's not serving anybody, the leaders, the C-suite, or the staff at the organization, right? So if we look at not just working smart or harder, right? We want to work smarter, not harder. If we delve even further deeper into that, we can see that performance needs to be measured, including the whole human in the conversation. Burnout is really just the symptom. Burnout is, that, okay, now I can see that it's time to go to the doctor. I've got the cough and it won't go away. But until we actually address the underlying cause there, it doesn't matter if we're working smarter, not harder, we're running ourselves into the ground either way, right? We have a broken leadership system. We need to look at energy, resilience, and sustainable performance in order for us to actually solve this problem.